Welcome once more to Tea with Lady T talk show. This is not a podcast, it is a talk show. I am bringing you today another episode with another amazing guest. Actually, he's not new to the podcast slash talk show. He has been here with us sharing a very heartbreaking story of what happened to him. I will hand over to him to actually relate the story in short. I don't want to spoil anything. But more than anything, I believe that our guests have been waiting and maybe wondering with regards to what has happened since you left the studio in terms of the progress with your story. I have with me Avuti Mongameli. Wasaba bosotho bo botlolo bo bolaisa. But lata kontlong ba re mabaha. Welcome, Avuti.
Thank you so much, Sister T.
How have you been?
I'm keeping well, thanks.
Mm.
It has been a very interesting journey. Somewhat lonesome, but at least after our first talk, I can say that it has attracted public interest.
Thank God.
And it has opened some few doors that were locked, not just closed, but doors that were locked. So yes, there has been a notable progress. And when we last spoke, I was still fighting to get exonerated from the crime that I was firstly accused on.
Yes.
And the main challenge was to get a breakthrough in the police department and also the National Prosecuting Authority. So finally, on the 13th of July, 2026, SAPS handed me a letter that was indicating that the case was closed and investigations have been rested. And I was, I would say, exonerated, but not yet because of, yes, not fully, because of NPA has not yet issued me out with their letter of withdrawing the indictment. So there is still an outstanding letter from NPA that will explain that they are no longer going to prosecute me for the crime that I was falsely accused on. And maybe from then, I can finally say I'm free after 8 years.
After 8 years, you've been fighting for the whole 8 years.
Oh, the whole 8 years.
Yes. Maybe for the sake of those who are going to see the podcast as first-time viewers on the show, maybe the subscribers who have recently joined, can you give us a background maybe of the story? But before you do that, I want to acknowledge the venue where we are shooting from today. We are at Muko Guest House. It is in Rivonia, Santin. So we are moving around. We are moving around. We are showcasing a beautiful places that we have, especially around the area of Midrand, Rivonia, Santin. If you want to shout out, you want us to come and shoot from your guest house, lodge, or hotel, you are welcome to do that. You will get our numbers on the screen. And then you will let us know that you want us to come through. It is part of marketing that we are doing. And we are here today at Nuko Guest House showcasing their beautiful place. So let's get back to it. Just revive, even those who saw the story before, just revive us in terms of the whole thing that happened, even if you don't go into much detail, because we just want to know how far you are with the process.
Okay.
Of the exoneration for it to actually come to full completion. Yes.
Okay. Thank you again, Legacy. In 2019, I was falsely accused of raping a child, a girl child who was 4 years old at the time. I was 32 years old. And the false allegations...
Excuse me, I will interject where I feel we need clarity. Ne?
Yes.
This was not just a child from the neighborhood. It was a family, a child from the family.
Yes.
Your niece.
My niece.
Yes.
Yes. The father of the child accused me of rape, and I may not be sure what were his intentions, but the child had never been raped. The child was in my care at that time. The mother was still a student. And subsequently to that, I was arrested exposed to police brutality, where I suffered terrible injuries that have left me with lifetime limitations. And I was then charged with rape of a minor. And then I was then handed over to the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development to be prosecuted. My bail was denied, and I was kept in custody at Sun City, Johannesburg prison, where I experienced, I would say, further or secondary victimization. Yes. And I remained in the system for 112 days before the state could withdraw the case. And even when they were withdrawing the case, it was withdrawal with conditions. So it was a provisional withdrawal. It was not to say that I'm being released because of the truth has finally came out or come out. They found out that the child was never raped, but they could not exonerate me. So I remained indicted, and SAPS was said to continue conducting an investigation that maybe perhaps the child was not raped but might have been sexually violated in other ways. And that whole process lasted until 2023 when SAPS finally concluded its investigation. But even then, they could not exonerate me. There were contents of the dockets that went missing, and that whole process led me in an attic of life. So I was not a person who is going to be prosecuted, but still I was not declared innocent so that I can proceed with my life. But instead, the state organs were trying to feed the case with situations that would leave me in that attic without a proper exoneration. And that is what I have been fighting for.
Yeah.
So, so for this past 8 years, basically what I wanted to do was to get my name cleared so that at least I can be given an opportunity to look for work and, earn an income so that I can be able to make a living. But with that too, it has been impossible. As a registered nurse, when we're indicted with a sexual offense, the first step that the councils take, it is to, yes, they disbar you so that you don't work. And they do this obviously for very good reasons, that, we wouldn't want people who are sexual offenders to be working in our healthcare systems, because of our healthcare systems really are places where, the vulnerable groups, women, children, and persons with disabilities usually visit. So we wouldn't want people like that. However, when a person who is innocent has been falsely accused of such a crime, then the damage is deteriorated. So it was on my case.
Yes. And while we are on that one, would you mind sharing in terms of the victimization in the holding cells, or I'm not sure if it was in the holding cells or it was actually when we were in prison for those few months that we held, or was it a few weeks? But I know in the last episode you did mention that there was some sort of assault that happened while you were there.
Okay. Well, I think what would give a normal person an understanding of what happens in prisons, it is to give a clear explanation and say, when a man has been accused of rape, the whole community and the whole society hates that man. It doesn't matter whether the accusations are true or false. The first action or the first step that the society takes is to hate that person. So I was a hated individual. Was assaulted by the police officer who came to arrest me. By the time I got to the police station, I had already a fractured ankle. I had a bimalleolar fracture. I had already torn tendons on my left-hand side hand because of the handcuffs were pressed too tight to the bone. And I had already suffered those terrible injuries before I could even be taken to prison. So while I was still in the holding cells, and it is the hate that comes with the accusation.
Yes.
Yes, because South Africa is a country that has a high incidences of gender-based violence, child abuse, and so forth. But I was hated. And one of the things that happens is that when you finally get to be processed to a prison, because of you are now tagged or classified as a rapist, there is no one who has any form of empathy towards you. Whatever that is happening to you, you deserve it. And one of the things that happens to young men who get in prison is that they get raped.
Which was the case.
Which was the case on my situations where I was gang raped. I was attacked by a lot of people, I think about 20, in a cell that has about 80 something people. And initially I didn't fight, I had sustained injuries 2 days before at a police station. So when they came to attack me, I thought they just wanted to take the clothes because I was still wearing the clothes that I was arrested on. And it was only when they started applying something on my clothes when I realized I'm going to be raped. And it was a terrible situation. It was a high level of helplessness. I could not fight all of them. And it happened. I was getting raped in front of 80 something people. And there was no one helping. Even the following morning when I reported the incident, I did not get any form of assistance from the prison officials. And one of them actually said, "You now know how it feels like to your victim or what you did to your victim." Meaning that because of I am a detainee of rape, it is okay and it serves me well to be raped because of I also raped someone else.
Auntie Mongameli, there's something that I want to check in terms of maybe counseling or therapy or something like that. Bona le napo o kile wa fumana that type of assistance, because I believe what you went through was very traumatic on all levels of a human being, emotionally, spiritually, physically. So did you get any type of assistance in terms of therapy before we get to other things?
Yes. I was offered a therapeutic counseling, and I had some few sessions that I had to undergo. But I think at that time, I could not efficiently and properly utilize the resources because I think I was still in a stage of trauma that I think was not allowing for such an intervention. So even though I would go for counseling, it would feel as if we are talking about something that happened to someone else. I wouldn't project.
So it had kind of engaged yourself.
Yes. There was a disassociation of myself from the traumatic event. So I'll just talk about them as if they happened to someone else. There wouldn't be an emotion from myself that shows that I'm attaching. And I would say they were not effective in that way. Maybe it was too early.
Yeah.
But of recent, especially after the SAPS indicated that they are withdrawing the charges indefinitely. And, being...
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay.
Can continue.
Yeah. And after getting a letter from SAPS that says that they are actually withdrawing and the case and the charges, for the first time, I think when I spoke about it, it would hurt me. And I realized that now I am dealing with the true reflection of what transpired. For the first time, it felt like it happened to me. And it would hurt me when I talk about it. It would break me. Yes. So I think at this stage now, it is when I think I have to open myself for counseling and therapy.
Counseling and therapy, yes, so that at least you get the therapy that you deserve, so that it can actually work this time.
True.
because I believe it's like taking a drug addict for rehabilitation.
While he's
It's
still
the
hard.
opposite, exactly.
True. It feels like that. It feels like that.
Okay. We will make a request. Let me just do that. We are making a request. You know, these things can be very expensive. Therapy can be very expensive, and I know when you are a victim, you don't actually get it easily. Unlike when you're actually in prison, I know prisoners get their social workers and they get all sorts of therapy that they need while they're in there. But with victims, it's a different story. In most cases, you have to pay for the services for you to actually get the therapy. So anyone who is watching this episode, who is listening to this story, you are a therapist, you are a psychologist, any help that you can give to Abuti Mongameli so that he can start the process of healing, please do that. My number is 083 513 4603. You can call or send a WhatsApp. Let's get help for him that he deserves so that when he starts his life afresh, he starts on a clean slate. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, I want us to come to the fact that there are a lot of men who are going through what you have gone through. Some would probably have left or abandoned the process because of how tedious it is. And maybe they don't have the strength to push, or they don't even have the time that it requires for them to actually push it so that they get to where you are today. It has taken you 8 years just for the police to say, we have done a mistake. We have written a letter to say this man did not do what he has done. So to those who have gone through the same incident, the same experience, who are now at the point where they are like, whatever happens, I don't care anymore. What would you say to them?
Well, there is hope. There is hope. I have to say there is hope. However, they need to also know that as tedious as the process might be, as lonesome as the journey might be, um, it is a journey that is worth taking. When you have been violated in that manner, when you have been grossly violated, when your human rights have been violated in that manner, there is something inside of you that says, get far. And that is the most dangerous part. And if you do get an opportunity to talk about it, because of that's what helped me. What helped me was talking. I decided to say something about it. And when I said something, people listened. It is often said that men don't talk. We don't know where to go and talk.
Yes.
Yes. So the first step it is to talk to someone. You can tell people on Facebook. You can record it and sell it to a priest or a pastor in church or a guru in a Muslim community. But you need to tell somebody. And that is the first step. When you have told someone, ask them to help you. Yes, because of in such a situation, you can't help yourself. I'm a nurse. I worked for 13 years. I served for 13 years as a professional nurse. I was enrolled as a nursing assistant in 2005. But it was difficult for me to help myself because of I was not a nurse. I was a victim.
Yeah.
So you need help. So that is what I can say to them. You need help. Yeah. And there are people who are willing to help. You were willing to help Lady T. There are people who are willing to help at the Vets Law Clinic. There are people who are willing to help at the TUT Community Advice Center. But there is help out there. Yes.
One just needs to go and seek for help.
And seek for help. And sometimes it might be an issue of you don't know that you need help. So, but if you know someone who is going through a situation similar to mine, be there helped.
Yes.
Well, it's very difficult for one to ask for help because of they firstly don't know that they need help. I didn't know that I needed help. But when I realized that I was no longer the same person I used to be, I had stopped bathing, I stopped cutting my nails, I stopped grooming myself, things that I used to do, without an effort. I realized that something in me was eroded. Something in me had died. And I needed help to save the little that I still had. Yes.
Uh, Now that you're mentioning that something in you had eroded and died, oftentimes we take for granted the impact of trauma. And trauma, it can be different things that have happened to us. And actually, it's not even things that have happened to us. It is the feeling that the experience lives in us, that are the traumatic experiences. You understand? Like maybe if you're hit by a car, you being hit by a car is not trauma, but the feeling that you being hit by a car leaves is what we now address as trauma. So there are a lot of traumatic experiences that people go through, and there are a lot of traumatic experiences that men go through. How important is it then maybe to deal with the feeling that you're now left with? In your case, you felt like something in you had been eroded, something had died. How then would you say someone needs to align with the person that they have been before? Because now you look very good. I don't know how you looked then, but you looked very good. You're well groomed, and yeah. So I just need to know, how then would you advise someone who is feeling like that?
Okay.
All right, viewers, we had to move. The place was very hot where we were earlier. So we have moved right inside the lodge. It's still a beautiful sight, but yeah, we had to move because of the sun. My guest was really not having a fun time out there. I was really sorry for him even. So yeah, we were on the point of trauma, Abdi Mongameli, especially when it comes to men, because we know that every human being goes through traumatic experiences, although they differ from person to person and the levels also are not the same. Um, what happened to you being one of those that we can maybe classify on the highest level of trauma. So I just need to find out, how does it change a person? How did it change you? I'm going to come to the next question, but I just have this at the back of my mind right now to say, how did it change you?
Okay. I think if one were to ask, was the whole incident traumatic? The answer is true. Um, do I experience post-traumatic stress reactions? Do I experience post-traumatic stress disorders? That would be a completely different story. I think not only for men, maybe for Black people, we internalize trauma. If a traumatic incident or a traumatic ordeal unfolds, you first want to survive it. And the only way you can show that you have survived it is for you to say, I'm okay. Yes. So most of the time when people would ask me, how am I doing? I would say, I'm okay. So I've been okay for 7 years. Now on the 8th year, when someone would ask me, how are you doing? I would say, I'm falling apart. Yes. And this is for the first time in 8 years. And the reason being, I think for the first 7 years, I was fighting for my name. I was fighting for my honor. I was fighting for my reputation. I was fighting for my life. I was fighting for my career. I was fighting to survive. Now that the state has admitted that there's something wrong that they did, I think it's only now that I'm experiencing a post-traumatic stress reaction. For the first time, I think in 7 years, I spoke about what happened to me and I cried. And I realized that, you know what, it was superficial for a couple number of years, but now it has touched me. Yes. So um, Am I presenting with post-traumatic stress reactions now? The answer is yes. I do dream about my prison experiences almost as if they happened yesterday or last week. And 8 years later, but 4, 5, 6 years after the incident, I was on a fighting mode. I didn't break. I would talk about it like it happened to someone else. I had a skin that was hard. It wasn't touchy. Yes. So do I think justice would help? Yes, I think justice would help. Did counseling help? No. Counseling did not help then, because if I did not need counseling then, I needed justice. And now that justice is finally coming, justice is finally approaching, only now I feel I can be a human being and deal with the traumas that I went through.
So now, with the justice that you're now getting, at least you're one step towards that justice that you were hoping for. For someone who is not gonna get to that stage where they are saying, finally, I am a step closer to getting justice, because I think earlier we were even discussing to say there are a lot of men who are going through what you have gone through. I personally know a lot of them. As a restorative justice facilitator, I come across people in jail who are serving time, even as we speak, for this type of crime and the crime that they did not commit. And also who have gone through the very same experience that you went through of being molested by other prisoners. So if for someone who will not get to the justice that they are hoping for, but at the end of the day, they are still sitting with this trauma, how would then would we advise them to go about maybe healing? I don't even know. Maybe healing at least. How would we go about it? Because I think another thing that we mentioned was that counseling does not help. It might not help. So what then can a person do who is sitting with the same situation that you were sitting with, without the justice or a step closer to the justice?
Well, I honestly wouldn't know. I honestly wouldn't know. Um, some few years back, I had to explain to someone, a person that I knew was incarcerated for a crime they did not commit, and they committed suicide in prison. And someone was asking me what was going through my mind while I was in prison. Was I at any point suicidal? And I said no, because of I was still alive. People who commit suicide are people who are already dead. You die. By the time you commit suicide, you are already dead. That's why you don't feel the pain. That's why you don't feel the guilt. That's why you don't think about a lot of, you're already dead. So the only thing that can resuscitate someone is justice. I'm not sure if I'm making sense. I hear you can't give counseling to someone who is dead. You can't give counseling or advices to someone who is dead. You need them alive. And what can give them life is sense of justice, is sense of validation. You need to validate their pain. A person went to prison for a crime they did not commit. The first thing that you need to do, make them aware what happened to you was wrong.
Yeah.
That gives life. It's a lifeline to that individual.
You validate what the person is actually saying is true.
Yes, so that they can have a fighting power. Yeah. So I'm not sure if there's something that I can say to someone who has been deprived justice to say, this is what you can do to move on with life. You can't move on when you're dead.
Justice has to be served.
Justice has to be done. Even if it is the littlest, the smallest ounce of justice, just validate that person's situation.
Yeah, it is profound what you're saying. I'm holding on to the fact that you're saying someone who is committing suicide is someone who has already died. Because we are out here and we are thinking, how selfish can this person be to kill themselves? But we don't understand that the person is already gone. There's nothing left for them anymore. So with regards to, I'm gonna go back a little bit on the question that I want to ask. With regards to the person who accused you, it was a man, right? And then you experienced brutality in the hands of men, and you further experienced victimization and trauma in the hands of other men, meaning now in the prison city.
Yes.
I'm giving it as a background because in most cases, we normally say women are their worst enemies. Like if you're a woman, do anything in your power to bring another woman down. But now I'm looking at the whole scenario of what happened to you. Is everyone involved in this case is a man. Where is the brotherhood? Like what would you say, maybe in terms of brotherhood, in terms of men having safe spaces amongst themselves? Because it's another thing that you mentioned earlier to say, sometimes you want to talk, but you don't know who to go to. Sometimes you want to have someone who can only listen, even if it's just to listen, but you wouldn't know where to go to. So I think my question is to say, do you think even among men, we now have what we are calling men who are enemies of themselves, enemies among their own? Do you think there's still that safe space among men to even share their problems or challenges?
Well, I'm not sure if I would respond properly to that question, but what I can say is that crime and corruption is gender blind, it is race blind. So I was not arrested by a law-abiding police officer. I was arrested by a corrupt police officer who was working in cahoots with a corrupt civilian. So I was dealt with by criminals, irrespective of their gender. The investigating officer on my case is a female, Sergeant Makore. She's African. So the question would be, was I pressed down by Africans? Was it African on African violence? Was it African on African brutality? I was raped by Africans, you know. So the answer to that is crime and corruption erodes the moral fiber. So it's people who are immoral who do immoral things, irrespective of their gender, their race, and their creed.
Okay. And now with regards to the gentleman who actually accused you, do you think that they were in cahoots, obviously, with the police? Do you think that it was something that was planned right at the beginning to frame you, or it's just that along the way maybe they just wanted to get themselves off the hook when they saw that this thing actually didn't happen? Do you think it was purposefully organized?
I honestly wouldn't know. But what I know is that there was a plan to assault my reputation. It might have gone out of hand, or there was a plan to extort money from my family, and it might have gone out of hand. Yes. But I believe that it's not an isolated incident, especially in the Protea North precinct. The Protea North Police Station, the Protea North Magistrate Court, the Protea North NPA, there's a chain. There's a chain of incidences similar to mine. You would be arrested on a Saturday afternoon. You would not have access to get a magistrate that can sit for your bail hearing.
Yeah.
You will have to be indicted on Monday. And such cases or such accusations usually happen to affluent members of society. It's either it's a teacher, a nurse, or a doctor, and the circumstances are almost and always similar. Mm.
Okay.
So I may not say I know for sure this was the purpose or this was their reason, but it was odd for a man to be arrested for a rape that did not happen, and for that arrest to be conducted without a J88 present, without a doctor's report that may suggest that a rape did take place. And then years later, it comes out that there was actually a J88, but that J88 was saying there's no physical clinical evidence suggesting rape. So there was no doctor's report because of that case never made it to a doctor. So who issued out the warrant of that arrest? Why was I charged? Why was I indicted? Why was I not released at least 48 hours after the incident or 3 days after the incident? So there is a sense or a way that maybe corrupt individuals were trying to extort monies from a specific family groups or people who are in a certain class. True.
Okay. No, thank you very much for that. Interested to know in terms of the family now, how are things? Because I believe when all this happened, obviously at some point maybe the relationship changed somehow. I also assume that the child was removed from your care because she was in your full-time care at the time. So maybe just to take us a little bit from where you guys were as a family then, how are things now with everything that has developed?
Okay. I would still say, fortunately, on my side, my family was behind me from day one. Unfortunately, the child, yes, was removed from my sister's care when I was in prison, and she was taken to a place of safety at MD, to a place where we didn't know. But when I came out of prison, the first thing I wanted was to know where the child is at, because of information had already came out that the child was never raped. So my fear was that this child is now very important because of she's now my vindicator. She's going to vindicate me. So nothing must happen to her. And then she was located. We used assistance, or we sourced assistance from other people. There was a very kind journalist from SABC, Mayor Zinkhe Mugabe Ngube, who assisted the family. We were able to trace her down to a place called Richie outside of Kimberley in the Northern Cape. And she was brought back home. She was reunited with her mother.
So she was moved to a place that you were not even informed about as a family?
Yes, I thought she was at Mdeni with a lady called Aleta. I think she was prepared as a foster care or foster parent. And then when I came out of prison, that's the first place I went to because I wanted to know Umdana Upi. And they said, no, she was taken to a place of safety. Blah, blah, blah. I wanted to speak to the social worker who removed her. I couldn't get hold of her, but I got hold of her supervisor. And Antoinette Kotsia told me that the child was taken to his address at MD. I went there with police to request that the child be given back. And when we arrived there, the lady said that the child was taken to their family member in Kimberley. Then that's when got a journalist involved because of we're now thinking she has been taken. Yes, but we were able to trace her down, and she was found at Richie in the Northern Cape.
So she was moved from here in Gauteng.
In Gauteng,
Sure.
and the child must have been traumatized. So she's firstly she's Kosa in English speaking, and in Richie, where she was staying, they were Tswana and Afrikaans speaking.
Yeah, it's a lot. That
It was a lot, and all of this is done, in a system that is working. But the system has been compromised by people who are starting a parallel program, parallel from what the Department of Social Development is prescribing, what the Department of Health is prescribing.
Yeah, this is a continuing story. The reason why I'm saying this is that you still need to come back. remember yesterday when we were talking, we actually wanted to have a lawyer present who can actually even give more information in terms of awareness and education for those obviously that are still traveling the road that you are now at least getting a bit a step closer to closure. Hopefully that will be soon. I understand you're still waiting for MPA to actually write the letter to say everything is now done and they are giving you free exoneration. But in the meantime, from where you are now to actually having that letter, what are the steps that are still maybe in the pipeline that you need to take?
Okay. With regards to employment, the registrar at the Nurses Council has indicated that that letter from AP is important because of with just SAP saying they are withdrawing the charges, yet I'm still indicted. I still can't be placed, so I can't be enrolled. And then with issues of social standing, I think our religious leaders have been very much helpful. I've been invited to a different number of churches in my area where, you know, the pastor would give me just maybe 10 minutes to talk about what happened so that at least the society and the community that I used to work with can receive me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But from the departments, there's actually nothing. There's no apology. There's no form of assistance to say, is there a program of reintegrating such people back into society? Because of as much as I am not a law offender, but in the eyes of the community, yes, I'm a law offender. So, but unlike someone who is in parole, I'm not reintegrated back into society formally. It's something that I have to do myself.
Yeah, but like I'm saying, this is still a journey that we are going to walk together. We have been talking offline, obviously, with regards to what we still need to do to make sure that this case is treated with the agency that it deserves, and that at the end of the day, you get what is due to you, not just your dignity back, not just your sense of being back, because that has been taken. It was gonna take a while for you to get there, actually. But what is due to you, it needs to get to that point. So thank you so much again for coming through and coming and updating the viewers with what has been happening and how far you are now. We are still behind you. We are still let me be part of the conversation so that we bring more awareness to the people out there, and obviously the victims that are labeled offenders. But before we close, I just want maybe to hear your view or what you would advise, especially to the Justice Department, if we ever get to that, because I know with a lot of accusations, especially rape accusations, when the person who has actually framed, let me say framed for lack of a better word, who has framed another person to say they've committed such a crime, if the person then comes and says, but I haven't done this, and they're actually led off like you did not commit the crime, what would you want to see happen to the person who actually laid the false accusations? Do you think there's anything that must be done to the person that will maybe give you a sense of satisfaction? Or are you like, okay, I am here now, I'm going to get my letter from NPA and life goes on? Do you think there is anything that needs to be done or some sort of punishment or whatever for the accuser?
I honestly believe that would also be a remedy. If someone deliberately falsely accuse another person of a crime that could land them in prison, that person should also face a sanction that is going to come with prison time that is equivalent to what the other person would have suffered. Because if there's no consequences of that, then it means that our justice system is not fair. And in a country where the justice system is not fair, in that country there's no law. That is why you find, because I also come from that stage where I wanted vengeance. You want that other person dead because of they've killed you in a way. You understand? So if that level of justice is not administered, we would sit with a situation where you find a person who was formerly or falsely accused of a terrible crime and being released from prison, but to be admitted again for now committing a crime of punishing the accuser. So it has to be a complete justice system. It must not be one-sided. So if someone accuses you deliberately of a crime that they know you did not commit, you have to face consequences. Yes, it's not the same as if it was a false accusation based on mistaken identity. You know, if I was accused of raping a child who was raped, but it was suspected that I'm the culprit, it would make sense. But for an accusation that was just formed, it's not fair.
Okay. You actually even remind me of this story. I'm going to just highlight it because it never leaves my mind. There's this child, he was at school somewhere in Limpopo. I can't remember where. Apparently, a girl actually accused him of raping her. And the boy went and committed suicide.
Yes.
And the girl then later came back to say she was joking.
Yes.
Nothing was done to
There's
the
no
girl.
consequences.
No consequences whatsoever. She's still going to school as if nothing happened. The parents, the family of this boy has lost a child just like that. Nothing has been done. So it is very sad. But I hope that someday things will change because really it is not fair. But as we close, I just want to also mention we spoke about trauma. Actually, we've been talking a lot about trauma today, and when we were offline, I did mention that there's a lot of that in this book. I think when you went through it, you saw maybe some of the topics. Even there's one that says soul under siege, soul wounds, and the fragmented soul, which is what you mentioned earlier. To say at some point you felt like you were disassociated. Yes. So once more, I just want to mention that the book is on sale, 350. You can place your order. Learn more about what some of the things that we were discussing earlier in terms of trauma. And the name of the book is The Image of God, The Mystery of Who We Are. The book is coming with so many challenges. Maybe when the viewers actually place an order, it will come back with a different cover. But that's a story for another day. On that note, Mongameli, thank you so much for making time. I know it was short notice when I called him, but thank you so much for coming and giving us an update. And like I said, we are vouching for you. Justice should be served.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, viewers, for joining us in this episode. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe, please like, please share the content. Let's make sure that the community grows. It's Tebelo Mosese, your host. Thank you so much for joining us. See you next time. And remember, take care of yourselves, spirit, soul, and body.